Welcome back. Glad you're here with me. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like it. For those of you that are new, we are sewing a double wedding ring quilt. You can go, there's other videos on my channel showing the different steps and the different things that I'm sewing for that quilt. We are up to the step where we are putting our ring pieces together and making this piece right here. This is where we're at. I have videos where I have sewn these together and you can watch those. So, excuse me, my allergies are bothering me today, but when are they not? Okay, so you will see behind me that things are a little bit different in my craft room. That's because I'm expecting a quilt frame. I have bought a Cutie Breeze quilting frame from the Grace Company, and that I am going to be getting into long arm quilting. My machine here, let's see if I can tilt the camera over. My machine right here, it is a Juki TL2000QI. It can be made into a long arm quilting machine. So it can be turned into a long arm quilter. They typically run anywhere from 3 to 10,000 depending on the kind that you get. And if you're looking to get the whole kit and caboodle, I suggest the Grace Company. They have a lot of great long arm quilting machines if you're into spending that much. I was on a very tight budget, and we're making this quilt for nonprofit in town. It's going to be auctioned off. I've said that a couple different times in a couple of different videos of mine, and for the pregnancy center in town, and I will leave a link to their website. They help single moms. So this quilt's going to go up for auction, and whatever they get out of it, they use in their nonprofit. So I had to quilt it somehow, and I wasn't going to quilt this thing by hand. I'm not good with hand quilting. I'll just put that out there. I have hand quilted a couple, and it seems like it just takes forever and ever and ever. And I've always wanted to have a long arm. In fact, yesterday, my quilting foot came. This is a 1/4 inch quilting foot made especially for the Juki TL series machines. The 1/4 inch foot. And my instruction manual also comes with information on how to install that, which is great. They also have a ruler foot. If you're going to be using rulers to quilt with, you can have rulers that lay down, and you can get that quilting foot, and it'll 1/4 inch tall like this, the foot is, and it'll run right alongside that ruler that you're using, which is so totally neat. But I just needed to start out slow. So I just got the 1/4 inch foot. There's all kinds of different quilting, free motion quilting feet. So the frame that I got, it has handles on the front and the back. You can do graphs with it, which I am going to do. I've got one picked out for this quilt. So my machine got all wonky on me. And so when that arrives and I get it all set up, I got to buy a table, a more sturdy table than the one I have behind me. It's a folding table from Walmart, and it's very rickety, and it'll go back and forth and it jumps. And I've been reading on Facebook. I'm part of a group, the Cutie Quilters Facebook group that deals with the Grace Company quilting frames. And so, yeah, they all recommend a very sturdy table. And this table here that I have my sewing machine on, it's wavy. The table's got to be pretty level, so I've got one picked out on Amazon that I like. And then I would need a Gracie laser stylus that you can follow the pentagram graphs. You print them out, their designs, and if you print out enough of them, you can line them up behind on the back side of your quilt frame on the table. And with that Gracie laser, it's a stylus, you just take that laser and go over the pattern, and it quilts it for you. You know, the pattern gets on the quilt. Now there is a way that you can automate your sewing machine. I could do that for about $1,000. I could upgrade. Or no, it's more than that. I'm sorry, it's more than that. It's, if I remember right, it's about $2,500 to automate where you put in your pattern or whatever, and the machine tells the iPad, the pad that the tablet will tell what pattern for the machine to do. And that's totally, unless I get a rich aunt that dies and leaves me a lot of money, or a rich uncle, which I doubt. Um, just unless I win the lottery, which I don't even play the lottery. I don't like to gamble. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. But it's a dream. It's a dream. So, and it's on my bucket list, which I may never get to that item. However, I'm really excited about my quilt frame, and it's supposed to be here Friday. And oh, I also need a speed control. Basically, what the speed control does, and I watched a lot of YouTube videos last night, it's a little box. You unplug your presser foot, not your presser foot, your foot pedal from the side of the machine, and you plug in the speed control, and it basically is putting your foot pedal on your handlebars here, so you can, you know, instead of trying to scoot that foot pedal along. And it's pretty reasonable. They do have one that's like $800, but this one is like $69, $70. So that'll be, I mean, it's like playing a video game. So that's what we're going to do. There's just one thing that I'm worried about, and that is the supervisor shadow. Because you got to drape your quilt. I might end up having to roll it up, but then him jumping on, and I may just have to close my door when I'm quilting and not allow him in. So let's get to our sewing of our curves. We are taking this piece, and we are taking two of these, the red and the green. This section, there's like 31 of these pieces that you have to put with the blocks going, one with the red up this way and one with the green up this way. The next section will be green at the top and red at the top on the opposite side, so they will line up. So let's get to sewing this. I'm going to do a couple with you, and then I will do the rest on my own. And then when we come back, after that, when I get all those done, might take me a while, a couple days, whatever. Got a lot going on this week, and then next week my husband and I are going camping, so I'll be out of the shop, out of the sweatshop for a few days. I'm looking forward to that. And then we'll lay it all out on the floor in the living room and see about getting it all put together. I'm excited to get this quilt top together. It'd be really, really fabulous to get this quilt top together. So let's start here with this piece. Red square on top. Yes, that's the supervisor. He's chasing his tail. So we're going to start with this piece. I'm going to take it over to my little ironing board that I've got set up. Let me see if I can show you my little ironing board. My little pressing mat, which I will leave a link to. Let's pull you guys down and show you the bed of the machine. I am going to iron this off-white piece. This is piece A from the AccuQuilt Double Wedding Ring die set. It is labeled as quilt piece A. Excuse me. What are you doing, Mr. Supervisor? Quit attacking my feet. Thank you. Okay. What we're going to do first is we're going to take this piece, make sure that the red piece is at top. We're going to lay, let me see, let me back you up a little bit here. There. We're going to make sure that we get things centered with this little arrow and this little arrow in the middle. Just like we did before when we were putting the ring pieces together. We're going to pin this. I will leave links to all my tools and everything in the pattern. So remember, well, probably I haven't said this yet. When you are attaching this piece, this little end right here, it is good. I have found it's good to go over that seam right there on the red block about 1/4 of an inch, because you're going to be putting another ring piece on top and or on the bottom, and you're going to want there to be enough fabric for that piece to grab onto. Okay. And I'm finding that a couple of these squares I'm having to even it up. Even 1/4 of an inch over. And these curves are a little bit more, they're a little bit deeper than the other pieces. So that's why I like to really pin really well. You don't have to pin if you feel confident in your curve sewing. It's just, I just recommend it, especially for beginners. Even though I've sewn quite a while, anytime that I make stuffed animals sometimes, and even in that, when I have a curve for like the snout or the head or something, and I'm putting two different directional curves together, I always pin. You just get a better product. Just a better product. Okay, so again, lifting that presser foot with my knee lift. I love my knee lift. I don't know what I ever did without one. Okay, back stitch. You can sew over your needles, your pins. Just take your time. And if you feel like you don't want to sew over them, you can totally take them out as you go. But I would not remove that pin until your presser foot or the tip of your presser foot comes over that pin. Okay. And remember, 1/4 inch seam allowance, which you automatically get if you line your presser foot up on the very edge of your fabric, because remember how I've said this in the past, from the outside edge of your presser foot into the needle is 1/4 inch. Typically on most machines with most feet, it's typically 1/4 inch. If it's not on the very bed of the sewing machine, on the plate, they do have measurements. You could also take a piece of washi tape and you could lay a piece of tape at the 1/4 inch and use that if you want to. You can even take a permanent Sharpie marker if you feel so inclined. I did that on one machine. But I just typically, on most of my machines and most of the feet that I use, from the outside of the presser foot into the needle is 1/4 inch. Okay? It's a good rule of thumb to take a look at your seam before you move on. And that way, if you have any bunches or anything like that, you can rip that seam like I just did. I checked the back and I had a little pinch there in the fabric, so I took my seam ripper. I keep it right there on my sewing machine, and if it still doesn't come out, then rip it again. What are you wanting, Shadlow? What? No, you can't have any milk. You already had your milk. Supervisor's begging for milk. No, you done had milk already this morning. I gave you milk early this morning. So, and sometimes you just got to make sure you rip enough of the seam to make that seam lay flat. Another way to avoid that is when you pin, make sure you're pinning it good. And as you sew your seam, take your fingers and spread those, make those fabrics lay flat. You can do all of that and still end up with a little pinch in your fabric. I am in no means a beginner. I have functioning knowledge of sewing machines, but I still do on occasion make mistakes. as does everyone. So if you keep saying to yourself, I ripped this seam 5 times, so you've ripped it 5 times. I'm here to tell you that I've ripped seams more than that. Okay. That looks okay. So I'm going to clip this seam. Remember, you take your scissors and you leave little clips. They're about 1/8 of an inch long. Within that 1/4 inch seam allowance. It helps the fabric to spread apart, and it helps it to lay flat and makes the curves look nice. Now, you don't want to clip your seams. You don't have to, but I highly recommend it. I'm going to take it over here to my little pressing mat, which I'm glad I had this idea. I just got a regular old tray table from Walmart. I was using it in the living room, and I swiped it from the living room. So I don't know what I'll do when I sit in the living room and watch TV with my husband. Okay, so we have the one. Now we put the red on that top. So now we are going to put the green facing up. We're going to line up again that middle arrow with the arrow on the middle piece of that arc. In my case, it's a pink piece. And I cut all these pieces with that AccuQuilt die set of the double wedding ring. And since I did that, they are absolutely perfectly precise. They went together very smoothly. I highly recommend the AccuQuilt cutting system, even though it has some drawbacks. Number one drawback is the cutting mat that you need, because you can't, if you don't have a cutting mat, nothing to go on top of that die, nothing's going to happen. You can put your fabric through that and nothing's going to happen. Won't cut. I've tried it. They are a little bit pricey, the mats are. I wish they came with, each die came with its own mat, to start with. But it doesn't. Okay. Trying to sew from the back side. I used to sew from the white or off-white piece. And now I'm going to try it from the other side. No, you're not getting any milk. He's begging for milk. What you want, won't. What you want, supervisor? I'm working. I'm working. Now he's licking the back of my leg. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay, so I'm here to tell you that sewing from this side of the thing is probably not a good idea. So I highly recommend that you sew your piece from this side. Yep. Yeah, I do. So now we know sometimes I gotta try something to figure out if it's gonna work or not. Remember that show Mythbusters? I think I watched one where they said, um, back in the 70s, those pop rocks, some kid apparently put a bunch in his mouth and drank a bunch of soda and it blew up his stomach or something, or that's what they said. I highly doubt that now as an adult. As a kid, it scared me, because I loved those pop rocks. Even my mom and daddy and my grandpa tried them. My dad thought it was a very interesting. Okay. I had to rip open the seam and fix a pinch. I'm finding that I'm having to do that more than I would like. Okay. That looks to be okay. I am normally not a perfectionist kind of person, but I'm finding on this quilt that I am trying to be more of a perfectionist than I usually am. So just leaving some little clips along that 1/4 inch seam. Let's go iron it and see how well we did. And don't panic about the way the back side of these pieces look. Try not to get a bunch of thread bunched up, but they're not going to be looking at the back, the underside. Now, when you get the quilt finished and you've quilted the whole thing, then yes, your stitches are going to show on the back. And a lot of times people will use a patterned piece of fabric on the back for the backing of the quilt, so it can be kind of a reversible type thing. I've had that in mind, but I don't know if I want to do that or not. I have a good friend that is a long arm quilter and has made bunches and bunches of quilts. I may ask her opinion about that. So, and there we have it. Let's do one more so you can see this technique again. Okay, got our two things here. I'm going to take this piece. This is piece A. And I have found even though it looks pretty flat, if I iron it, make sure it looks nice and pressed, it looks really good and it sews really good. Okay, set that piece to the side. Now remember, we're starting with the red piece, the red square pointing up. And when you've got it laid out here on your bed of your sewing machine, that means the piece with the red sticking or on the top is going to be on the left hand side. I know in the video it looks like my right hand, but this is my left. Okay? Because the video is backwards, whatever. It's the way I've got the camera angled. So again, we are going to line up those two arrow pieces in the middle. And I'm going to pin from the cream color side, the off-white side. I think it can sew better. Ugh, can't talk today. Okay, so we're going to make sure those end pieces right there, the ends of this piece, are about 1/4 of an inch over that seam right there on that red square. Because we're going to want there to be enough fabric for the other pieces to grab a hold of. Okay. Again, on the other end with the green square, 1/4 of an inch over on that seam. We're going to pin that. Another good thing I would recommend, if when you're pinning with your straight pins, you come across a pin that feels crusty, because they do eventually start to rust somewhat sometimes, and it just doesn't want to go into the fabric. Straight pins are so inexpensive nowadays. You can get a whole 250 for $2 or something at Walmart. I recommend just throw it in the trash. Okay, now we're sewing, making, we're back stitching, making sure we have 1/4 of an inch. Smoothing out those fabrics along the seam. That'll keep us from What are you doing, Shadow? You better not be messing with stuff. You can't see him in frame, but he's behind my sewing machine on the table. Just smoothing out with my fingers. That seems to work pretty well. Let's do that and see how that. Oh, turned out really good. So, as you sew, if you take the time with your fingers and you know, kind of press do like this with the fabric and make sure as you're going that it's smooth, you might not get any bunches. I'm gonna have to remember that. Leaving those clips. The best scissors I have found for this, and I've got them in there with my English paper piecing bucket, my to-go bucket, where I keep all my fabric stuff, are those Fiskars. I'll leave a link to those. Those are my favorite scissors. Oh yeah, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Press that out. And I press the seams whichever way they want to lay. Very beautiful. Now we're going to do the other piece. Make sure that along with the red, you have your green at the top on the other side. When we go to do the other section, it'll be reversed. The green will be on the left, the red will be on the right. Don't ask me, to explain why that is. It just works. And when you are putting pieces like another piece in here, it's got to be where there will be a green next to the red and a red next to the green. I just follow instructions. Okay. And let's okay, pin that in the middle. 1/4 inch over the seam there at that square. I'm gonna pin the rest of that section to the middle. Okay. My grandma's flower garden quilt's coming along very nicely. I've got 22 flowers done now. I'm working on the 23rd one. I usually do those in the evening. And I usually send pictures of the completed flowers to my mother and my sister. Shout out to them. Hey mom, hey sis. They like my flowers. Okay. Remember, we're taking our fingers right here and we're smoothing out. Pulling that fabric down like this, smoothing it out. Going slow across those pins if you've left them in. If you're squirrely about doing that, remember you can take them out. Something else to think about. If you see somebody do something a certain way and you're like, oh, I don't do it that way, perfectly fine. It's not wrong. Whichever way you want to do it, perfectly fine. And that's one thing I've tried to remember about other people. Just because my husband folds the towels a different way than me doesn't mean that it's wrong. I appreciate him folding. So if I do something and you're like, oh, I don't do it that way, well, that's okay. The way I do it is not wrong, and the way you do it is not wrong. It's just different. Sometimes I look at somebody doing something different than me. I look at it and think, oh, that's a better way than what I've done. And I'll try it, and if it's good, I usually stick with it. Like when I'm sewing those hexagon pieces together, I was folding them, laying them right sides together and whip stitching them. I saw this lady do this other stitch where you line them up edge by edge, and it's still kind of a whip stitch, but it gets just the back of the fabric and the thread doesn't show on the outside. And I tried here recently to go back to the whip stitch and didn't like it. Laying them flat together, I find laying them close side by side is easier for me, and it looks, in my opinion, it looks better. I like it better. Anyhow, that's the way I do it. You can find, if you're interested in English paper piecing, I have a digital pattern for 1-inch hexagons up in my Etsy shop at Take a Notion. I will leave a link to my Etsy shop in the description box. I just this morning put up 1-inch pieces, 100 pack for sale. So if you want them, people that want the hexagon templates, don't want to print them out at home because maybe you feel like you can't cut very well, I have in packs of 100. I have them up. So look at there. Yay. Don't know if y'all saw that or not. The Sombra Pantera, the Shadow Panther, is in the house. So, again, thank you for coming along on this journey with me. This is the next installment. That was the next installment of the sewing curves. So, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And again, have a blessed day. And thank you again for supporting my channel and watching. God bless.